Welcome to the Players Ball Podcast for AT Aliens by AT Aliens. I'm your host, Alex the Great, joined by my co-host, MB. Welcome back, everybody. We appreciate all the love and the views that y'all have been giving us. So, um, our production manager has got us on a schedule, man. Every Friday morning, you can expect our release, right? So, obviously, we want you to like and subscribe so you'll get that notification, hit that notification bell. But our content will be scheduled and coming out. We are professionals, so it's coming out Friday, coming at you live, not live. We are working on that, but the recordings will be coming out on Fridays from here on out. So start your week starting off with the greatest podcast in the world. All right.
At least
There was a
this,
big event yesterday. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, at least this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah, at least, but I would say the world. There was a big event yesterday. Featured a great halftime show. The Super Bowl.
I was gonna say there was a big event. Kendrick Lamar slayed Drake again.
Yeah, he did, man. He really put him under the dirt, man. I'm hoping Jersey can arise from the ashes, right? But there's a comedian that said that because the Super Bowl, the metrics about the Super Bowl, right, it's eligible for the Emmys.
Oh
So
wow.
not like us already won an Oscar, it can now win an Emmy if he gets enough juice. And his album wasn't uh, old enough to qualify for the Grammys this year. He won the, so he'll probably win another Grammy next year.
He won like 5 Grammys off that track.
Yeah, it's got to be the greatest diss track of all times at this point.
Yeah. Uh I've enjoyed just kind of reading all the people talking about the little Easter eggs, wearing the little A chain, to having his ex-girlfriend Serena out there doing the sea walk during
Right.
the performance. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I don't know what the beef is about, and I don't think this is the right time or place to get educated, but I do find it quite amusing that um, it has led to this kind of greatest beef diss track um, of all time.
Yeah, undisputed. I don't think there's anything that comes close at this point.
Yeah. But there was a game
Unfortunately,
also played.
yeah, there was a game played. Well, one team played. The other team did not play so much. Um, the Eagles beat the brakes off the Chiefs. If you missed it, I don't know how you could, but it was a knockdown. Uh, it was a slobber fest, slobber knocker. What is it?
Both work.
Took them to the woodshed, right? Just beat the brakes out of them. So at halftime, they were beating them so bad that they mentioned the Falcons 28-3.
You knew that was going to happen
Yeah,
regardless.
man. They're catching Stewie catch strays, obviously. Um, but I wanted that to happen. I
Oh, for
wanted that
sure.
to be erased from our annals of sports history. It wasn't. So we still have the biggest the biggest comeback loss of all times. Um, we are also there's another thing that came out said that a team that has a pick six during the Super Bowl, they're 12-1. With the one team that lost being the Atlanta Falcons. So shout out Robert Alford for taking that thing back to the crib, man. You did what you could. It just didn't end up being enough.
Yeah, so
Oh, yeah,
there's a lot of little minutia, I guess, adjacent topics we could get into with the game. Obviously, um, the biggest, the easiest one I think to hit on is the Eagles, which have probably one of the best defenses we've seen in a very long time. Clearly the best defense this year. Um, rode that defense all the way to the Super Bowl championship. Um, it was on full display yesterday. But that defense features 6 Georgia Bulldogs that all played together. They were here for the national championships, some of them for both. They're only 3 years removed from those titles, and now they find themselves as Super Bowl champions. So, congratulations to those guys: Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. They are absolute monsters on that defensive line. Now, they do have a lot of help, with Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham and a cast of other superior defensive talent, but you could see their game on display last night, just making Patrick Mahomes look human and running for his life.
Yeah, they said they may think he got a concussion on the first play of the game. I saw the video. He did hit his head, but he popped back up. So I don't know. Um, he had some uncharacteristic miscues for sure. Uh, that pick six was crazy. Oh man, you got to watch it. Have you familiar with Sunday Conversations with Caleb and he's Caleb with Barstool? I can't think of the other guy's name, but he interviewed Tom Brady. It was hilarious. He was like, would you have trouble? How many interceptions do you think you would throw with Cooper DeJean as the white guy in the secondary? Because all your wide receivers were white. It's hilarious.
I,
All right,
I
let's
saw another
go.
one that was kind of along the same lines, talking about a secondary that features 2 white guys. There's something wacky about to happen. Talking about Reed Blankenship and obviously Cooper DeJean, but which I think both those guys got a pick. I know Cooper had the pick six, and the second interception that was Reed Blankenship, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So, shout out to the light skinned fellas holding it
From the
down.
brothers from the mountains of Caucasus. Did they thug Dizzle in the Super Bowl?
uh, I saw one. It was a meme. It was supposed to be Cooper DeJean, and it was this like fair skinned redhead with a wave, just combing it down. And I forget what the context was, but it was like a POV of Cooper DeJean after getting a pick six in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now there's
Completely
another one
thugged
with the
out.
skinny guy from Road Trip, where they stopped at the family's house and they had that voluptuous black woman.
Yeah.
He was that. I gotta find that picture, but that one was funny too. It's like with Cooper DeJean when he gets back to Philly. He's now a legend.
But shout out to the Philly Dogs. They got it done. Nick Sirianni actually shouted out the culture that those guys brought from UGA and just the preparedness they came into the league with. And I believe it was Jalen Hurts who also kind of mentioned those guys. And his comments were, offense scores points, defense wins championships, which is cool. All those guys getting some love, some Philly love, city of brotherly love, as long as you're one of them, I guess. If you're not, city of brotherly hate. Um,
Mm.
but anyways, shout out to the Philly Dogs. The other kind of unique storyline that is, again, Atlanta, Falcons adjacent, was until last night, no player that had been drafted from Alabama had ever scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl, which was hard to believe, right? Especially when you have guys like Julio Jones and the performance he put up in that 2017, was it 2017
Yeah.
Super Bowl? to have not ever scored a touchdown. Well, Devonta Smith broke that last night with the touchdown he scored. Um, but I thought that was interesting.
I don't think it was broken. Did he score a touchdown? I know
Oh,
he caught one at the
he caught a
edge.
he
Oh no, okay, yeah, no,
yeah,
you're
he caught
right.
a touchdown pass. And then like just, another kind of storyline when looking at just pure college numbers, the I think there was like 45 SEC players featured on both teams. UGA had the second most. The number one school was Oklahoma, which is somewhat surprising, but that is Jalen Hurts
Hmm.
who won the MVP. I don't know who else from Oklahoma, but Jalen Hurts obviously is the big one.
Yeah, yeah. Who else would be on that list? That's wild.
I don't know. I thought for sure UGA would be number one with having six guys just on the defense for Philly, and then two players on the Chiefs.
Yeah,
But you know, anyways,
maybe they can return to that that number this draft. Um, I think got some studs on the defensive line that's supposed to be coming out. Obviously, they're not national champions, but they're still at that same pedigree, the same ilk. Do you think any of those guys will be there at 15?
I hope so. I don't think that the talent is quite to the level of those guys. I think Jalen Walker and Michael Williams are beasts. As far as the defensive line, like you don't have a Jordan Davis, you don't have a Jalen Carter. Um, Linebackers, you don't have a N'Kobe Dean, you don't have a Quay Walker or some of the other standout guys from that time. But you do have some studs. I do hope Jalen or um, um, Michael are available, and you know I'm glad in a sense that you bring it up because the things that stood out to me watching that game are just how important. I already knew this, but I feel like it was just on full display last night, and that's the importance of winning in the trenches. We've talked about it, but I think like even the layman who doesn't know football could watch yesterday's game and see that the game was won on the line of scrimmage, right? And I feel like that's what we've, at least myself, I've been begging for it for our franchise to spend some more capital, some draft picks, some trades, free agents, whatever. Spend it on securing those two fronts,
Yeah.
primarily
you
the
know,
defensive front.
in that same video where they're talking about those crazy numbers, one of them that I heard was that Philly did not blitz like at all. All the pressure that they were getting was strictly from their defensive linemen. Right? Is Jalen Carter? He's in his second year, or is he a rookie?
His
Second.
second year.
The same with Jordan Davis, or
No,
is he third?
Jordan's third.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but those guys, no, they purely dominated the offensive line of the Chiefs. And I'm with you, man. I want some of that.
Yeah.
So, real quick question, Miles Garrett. We've been circling the wagon. We talked about it last week a bit. Does he fit the mold of what you're talking about? Or are you talking about drafting specifically?
No, I mean I think he fits the mold. We need some dogs. But I think it's more than so people always talk about needing an edge, and 100% we need an edge. We need a bona fide pass rusher. But if you watch that game, and early in his career, I think Grady really did this well, and he still does it at a high level, but maybe the guys around him haven't been as as good, so teams just double team him more often, and um it's not a surprise. Like his rookie year, he had 3 sacks in the Super Bowl on Tom Brady. And I say all this to say it's also extremely important to have that inside push, which is what Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter do so well. Because if your edge guys are good, but the quarterback just can step up through the pocket and get away that way, then it really doesn't, you don't get the result that you're really hunting for. You got to take both away, right? Like you got to fully collapse that thing. And that's, I think Myles Garrett helps get us towards that, but I think you still need someone to pair alongside Grady to get that inside pressure as well. Like I think we need D tackle almost as much as we need outside edge.
Yeah. So what I would say is that having a star, like a bona fide star on the line, obviously that helps you. But I'm thinking, regardless of whether it's on the end or in the middle, right now we do have Grady. Rook plays tackle, right? Aurora.
I believe so. But we haven't
Yeah,
really,
defensive tackle.
we didn't really get to see a whole lot of what he's capable of.
We didn't get to see any capabilities of the people that we drafted. You had one that had the season-ending injury. JD Bertrand, a lot of special teams.
He got a lot of run. He just wasn't very good.
Special team, right? Oh, are you talking about his linebacker as well?
Yeah, because losing
That had
Troy
the injury.
Anderson,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, he got thrown in the fire. No, we didn't get very good production off of any of our draft capital last year, minus Michael Penix, and really, you gonna count what did he play? 4 games, 5 games,
Not even. He played the
3.
last three.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I say this. We drafted a bunch of players. A lot of them didn't get to see the field. Some did, and the value wasn't there. I am less inclined to use picks now, especially at 15, to get a lineman unless they're like, a dog. I would prefer to go ahead and pick up a perennial Pro Bowler in Myles Garrett. Lose that, you can have that 15, um, and maybe a pick next year to give him to me.
Yeah. I don't know that I would want to give up oh, a lot of draft capital for Myles Garrett, but I'm with you. I would want. I'd rather a bona fide guy than just a gamble on a draft pick. I don't mind.
100%.
I don't mind going defensive tackle at 15 and getting um like a Myles Garrett in free agency, or getting a bona fide star D tackle and going edge with 15. Like I would prefer to get the combination of both, but definitely a bona fide, verified, proven talent to fill one of those roles. And, you know, Grady is not getting any younger, right?
Yeah.
So, for now, pairing a guy next to him, but also, someone that can step into his role because, he's, you know, one full season removed off of a pretty serious injury. Um, I don't know that you want to just count on him solely as your source of inside rush. I mean, our our run defense last year was atrocious. With Grady on the field, right? So
It was less bad than our sack numbers.
yeah. Um, I know it's kind of circling the wagon, but if there's any takeaways from this season that you want to try and cling on to, I think it's stretching and whatever. But we did beat the Super Bowl champs.
We did. Oh man, how far we fell from there. And that takes us to another article, right? There was a lot of fanfare and celebration pre Super Bowl, and there happened to be a ping pong tournament that Kirk played in, and he lost to Drake May. Figures. No, but he did that, and he also went on. I don't know whose show was it. Was it Dan Patrick?
I don't know whose show.
But he made some comments, right? He was saying that after the Saints game or during the Saints game, he got hurt and that he played hurt. Um, and that's not good news, right? For him, for Raheem, and why it would need to come out now. I get it. He's trying to find a new job. He needs to have some plausible deniability for the trash that he displayed in his last couple of games. And an injury is a way to do that, but he definitely threw his head coach and the organization under the bus. Uh,
Yeah, there's been a lot of surprising things come out since that I just really didn't expect from Kurt. Just from the guy, like, we have never had a conversation personally. Like, I haven't met the guy, but everything that we saw in the TV show, QB, and just the way that he has kind of shown himself in the media, right? Like this, you know, Christ follower, wholesome family man.
Wholesome fella, yeah.
Um, always gonna do, the honorable right thing. You know, he's really slighted our organization on multiple occasions, and it seems at this point intentional. At least with the most recent stuff. His first, blunder was when he ran his mouth about, meeting with certain individuals before he signed his contract, and we got the tampering penalty. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, beyond just the financial money that we invested in him, he also took draft capital away from us. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there, right? Um, but this next move, right? Like it's really crummy. It's a really bad look. He and his agent went out of their way to schedule this meeting. They did not. It was not as though I think it was NFL insiders or whoever was. They weren't knocking on Kurt's door asking these questions, right? Him and his representation sought this interview, and it feels like they sought this interview for one sole purpose, and that was an opportunity to kind of slander the organization and try and build back some leverage for Kirk.
Yeah.
Leaves a pretty bad taste in my mouth, personally, and I get that he's trying to, kind of salvage his career, but I don't think that putting someone else's franchise in jeopardy or other people's jobs in jeopardy is the appropriate way to do it for someone who wants to be known in the light that he certainly wants to be known.
So how else does he do it?
I mean, you can have those conversations behind closed doors, right? You don't you
Do you
don't
get the meeting without them knowing in advance, right? What he put on display those 4 games.
I'm sure that his agent speaks to organizations. Now, I think the thing that he gains in this is now he's kind of put the ball in the Falcons' court. Let's remember he has a no trade clause. So trading him, he has to approve where he goes, right?
Right.
But if he gets cut, he can seek all of that stuff on his own accord, right? And I think he would prefer to be cut versus being traded. And now it's almost as if, he's trying to force the Falcons to cut him. And I hear that is likely going to be the outcome of all this.
Mm.
But I
So
heard,
he's playing his cards to get cut, open his opportunities up. You're saying,
yes,
but if he controls where he can go,
the Falcons
I
have
mean, it
to,
would have
it,
gotten to where he wanted either way.
uh, to some degree, yes, but you got to think of like who the trade partners could be. The Falcons would have had to have been willing to negotiate and make that deal, and then Kurt would have the ultimate say of like, okay, I'm willing to go there or not. But he doesn't have necessarily the same freedom to just go, you know, interview, for lack of a better way to put it, everywhere, that will take a phone call, right?
No, what I'm saying is they cut him if they don't get the trade that they want, they cut him anyway.
I don't know. Like I don't I legitimately believe that the organization is comfortable, maybe not what they want, or they may not see it as the ideal, option number 1, but I think fully they were at least fully ready to have him as the number 2 quarterback next year. They're going to eat the money either way.
Right.
If they cut him, they eat a whole lot more than if they trade him too, in terms of the cap.
Well, that's what I've heard about the trade is that they still the trade would have likely the trade partner would have likely required the Falcons to stay mostly on the hook for that money.
I mean, they'd still be on the hook for it anyways. The only thing they would not be on the hook for is his base salary, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is 24 million, somewhere in that ballpark. But
Yeah.
you go from having so ideally you trade him, you get some compensation in return, you take a 32 million dollar cap hit. You cut him, you're going to take close to, I think it's like a 60 to 65 million dollar cap hit, somewhere in that
65
ballpark.
million. Yeah, I got it up now.
Yeah, so that's a big difference, right?
It's a huge difference. And it essentially shuts down. I mean, at 65, it shuts down a lot of flexibility that we would have to do anything with other players.
Yeah, no,
And we have some other needs for sure.
we have a lot of needs.
Yeah.
It's not a good situation. Um, I'm not in the camp that this is like wholly on Raheem. Um, I do think management is culpable, but at this point, I kind of feel like this is on Kurt. And
Yeah.
I've heard things that are kind of unsettling, like the locker room didn't really know what was going on. That um, he felt scared that Michael Penix was going to take his job and not relinquish it if he were to have sat, kind of really gone through the injury recovery, that since day one when we drafted Michael Penix, it kind of made him unsettled.
Mm.
um which, if all that's true, I mean, you got to be pretty insecure in your job to begin with, right? So you have all this going on, and I listened to someone who took kind of an interesting stance, or had a interesting, you know, hy- hypothetical, and that is, if you think of, so he actually hit the injury report coming off of that game. He popped up on the injury report on a Wednesday with a shoulder and an ankle, and then he wasn't on the injury report the remainder of that week, and that he said, or someone said, that it was like a clerical error, right? And that he was fine, and he ended up playing that week. But now he comes out and says he's in.
Poorly,
Hmm?
poorly. He played very,
Well,
very bad.
he played very poorly the remainder of the year.
Yeah.
But I guess what I was getting at is, sports gambling has become large. We've talked about it some in previous episodes, and with that, the NFL has changed their regulations on injury reporting, and they're a lot stricter on it. And if you think about it, you have a quarterback that comes out and says, "Well, I was injured. The organization knew I was injured." And yet we claimed that it was a clerical error and I wasn't on any injury report, and I played poorly. You could argue that if you were a bettor, that you were misled, and you may have actual grounds for a lawsuit,
Hmm.
if you bet and lost on Kirk Cousins because they misrepresented his health. I don't think
That'd be
it's
interesting.
I don't think a situation like that is going to occur. I think it's kind of one of those extreme hypotheticals, but um if it did, for instance, happen, we could lose even more financial um financial penalties, and even potentially draft compensation as
Mhm.
punishment for not handling the injury protocol properly. And then you would have a situation in which he screwed us when we signed him with draft capital. He tanked our season, and then he screwed us running his mouth and losing us more money in draft capital.
That's hmm.
And at that point, does he pass um, Bobby Petrino as the most hated figure in Atlanta sports, at least Atlanta Falcons history?
you know, I didn't remember that he popped up and they said it was a clerical error.
It happened.
But that tells me that somebody knew,
I mean, he
and I
claims
think
that.
that puts the onus back on Rob, which that's not a good look. We saw he did the same thing with Koo. He kept sending Koo out there. Um, not only is he missing kicks, but he knew he was hurt.
So, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I also have to say, like, in your job, if someone made a mistake on something and you had a conversation, or let's use a different example, like someone came to you and um they were, you know just venting, saying that, like, something was going on and it was affecting their, productivity, or their quality of work, and you came back, like, you understood, you recognized it, you know made note of it, and you came back and checked on them later, and they told you, "Ah, we're good. We got it all sorted. I'm ready to go." And it's someone that you've had a lot of faith and trust in, and has done great things for you. Would you not give them the benefit of the doubt that whatever they were dealing with, that it wasn't, just water under the bridge. Because I think
Yeah, for a game, not for four. It's the length of time that transpired that makes it unforgivable for me.
I agree with you there, right? Like the sample size got so absurd that you're like, at some point, you just bench him just because of poor performance. Now, I don't know if he was truly ailing in all those games, right? In
Right?
terms of health. I told you he didn't look healthy. He looked like he didn't have the arm strength. He looked like he was struggling to get it there. So it is on Raw, but those guys are professionals. If you have a conversation with your quarterback, you gotta trust that they're gonna tell you the truth, that they're not gonna be afraid of losing their job, um, and that they're gonna go out and play at a high level. And I think ultimately where Raw made the biggest mistake was not recognizing the performance drop off was not a coincidence, and that it wasn't just a 1 week anomaly, right?
Right.
After the second game, he should have said, nah, like something's not right. You need to go get healthy. We're gonna sit you. Michael Penix is gonna start.
Yeah, that was the right course of action. He didn't do that.
No.
Um,
And the same could be said about the coup situation, for sure.
yeah. That it's very disappointing, right? Because if Mike gets in there a little bit earlier, things could have been a little different. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, spilled milk, all that jazz. But this information is coming out now, so it's human nature to look back and think about what could have been, and it's just more disappointment, right? I feel like I've been lied. We have been lied to. We were duped. We just don't know exactly who did it. Was it Kirk? Was it Ra? Um, but that popping up on the injury report is I don't like that one bit, man.
Yeah, super
I mean,
sus.
somebody knew, and then you took it off. That's dicey, bro.
Like I said, like I can understand if everyone's banged up, right? Like everyone has ailments. You come off of a Sunday game, on Monday, you're sore, you're starting your recovery, and you're feeling it, but by Wednesday or Thursday, you think you're good to go, or you've recovered as much as you're used to, and then you go out there and you know, play like nothing's changed on Sunday. I could see that being the case here, where they thought they were ready to go. He thought he was healthy enough. Turns out he wasn't. And like I said, where you do it wrong is allowing it to just continue to transpire into poor
Yeah,
performance after poor performance. Because at some point you're like, okay, you told me you were healthy, but clearly you're not healthy.
yeah. You look
So
like trash out there, man.
you're gonna go sit, you're gonna rest up, and we're just gonna make do. Because he was a
Some
detriment.
got to give.
Yeah, he was a detriment to the team and the team's overall performance.
Yeah. Now Michael Penix is still singing his praise, right? That he was a good presence in the locker room for him. So I don't think Kirk is a bad guy. I hate the way this was done, but again, I think he had to do it in order to get a job, and closed doors. I don't think closed doors would have got it done for him.
I don't know. I mean, he's gonna have to, no matter what happens, he's gonna have to pass a physical, right? Like he's gonna have to answer those questions.
Yeah,
So his agent's job is to get people on the phone and just get the meeting lined up. That's
right.
all he would have to do. I think the only true thing is he had to find a way to try and force uh being cut.
Yeah. What do you think about him covering up his Falcons logo during? That was the other thing that happened, right? He had on a Falcon shirt when they were at the ping pong table, and then he put a hoodie over it. And it seemed intentional as what people saw. I just saw stills of it, right? A picture before, a picture after. I didn't know
I mean,
what went through
the
it more.
relationship is clearly fractured, right? And I think that's why you do what you do to get cut, because your heart's not in it. Um, you know, you lost your starting role, and that's a big tank to an ego. Someone who's a competitor who wants to be out there playing, right?
Yeah.
He might have been a great, teammate, but at heart, like, he doesn't want to be the backup. That's just how it
Mm,
is.
yeah. Oh, the Orlando Ledbetter was at that event. He tried to chase him down and get some questions, and Kirk's bodyguards wouldn't facilitate any media time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Saying he already did media that interview. And I was like, no, that's not media, right? You called them and came on and said you wanted to talk.
Yeah. And Dio Ledbetter is, he's not an imposing figure, right? Like, he's
Mm,
to sick your guard, like your security after him, is just kind of, you know, that's a real sheepish move to me.
yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Especially if you had a rapport with the guy, right? This isn't just some random guy who's been interviewing you all season into the preseason, right? So it's almost a year that you've been communicating with him to not give it up now.
yeah, for sure, it's a coward's move, and I think the Kurt chapter in Atlanta is over, and unfortunately, it's going out, in a fiery furnace of, you know, I do think that Kurt will go down on at least the top three enemies of the Atlanta Falcons organization.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, enough about that guy, man. Let's talk about the Hawks, who we discussed last week. We didn't. I didn't know what they would do. Both of us felt like they were in a tough spot. Landry Fields is in a tough spot because of the way the roster is constructed. Jalen Johnson's injury. Can we get Zion? That's what I kept harping on, but I know we can't. Um, they made a lot of moves. Well, two moves, but a lot of players were moved around. So the Hawks traded. I got to pull it up actually because I don't want to guess. They traded Bogey Bogdanovich and 3 second-round picks for Terrence Mann and Bones Highland. We have since cut Bones Highland, so he won't be playing. So we sent Bogey and 3 second-round picks for Terrence Mann, which, eesh, that's tough. That one is tough. The other thing that we did was we sent DeAndre Hunter to Cleveland for Karis LeVert, George Niang, and the 3 second-round picks and two pick swaps. So we gave up those second-round picks already. And so it's Karis LeVert, George Niang, and two swaps. So we got rid of DeAndre Hunter and Bogey for essentially Karis LeVert, George Niang, two pick swaps, and Terrence Mann. Now Niang actually had a good night over the weekend. I don't know if that was yesterday or Saturday, but he put up 4 threes in a row. He looked good.
I think he's shooting over 40% from the three.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I think
reminds me a little Danilo Gallinari, right? Like
I think
has a role to play.
his attempts are pretty low,
Hmm.
but he's made them count. So I don't know. Very interesting. Obviously, a salary dump, right? And a lot of those guys are that we got in return are on expiring contracts.
Right.
So it is just purely a money play. Um, I don't.
Yeah, no, I think they're trying to make space to bring in. My brain wants this to be the scenario more than I've heard it, right? But they're trying to make space to bring in a second superstar next to Trey.
So here's the interesting thing. I don't know um, basketball, NBA finances very well. So
Hmm.
I am in no way, shape, or form an expert, but I was doing a decent amount of reading on this. And the way that the salary cap works is kind of interesting because you have like the luxury tax tiers or the thresholds, but then you have the straight cap. And it looks like, assuming a I don't know what percentage, but assuming the projections for the salary cap going into next year, we truly only have $8 million to sign a free agent that is not one of our free agents. And that's where the minutia of how the finances work in the NBA lose me. And it's so you can spend more salary if you're re-signing players than you can spend if you're signing just strict free agents. So, in order for us to really have money to spend on, say, a second superstar, we would have to first do a sign and trade, and then
Hmm.
the sign and trade would be we trade, and then we're able to give them like an extension um, worth money. Otherwise, this team doesn't really have much cap space uh, going into next year unless the salary cap goes up by an unprecedented amount.
I can't see how that's true. Just because the only person who's making money is Trey Young.
Like I said,
Um,
it has something to do with the weird rules on what the straight cap is versus the other caps. You know, I will I'll see if I can find what I was reading about and share it with you so maybe we can discuss it, obviously uh moving into the off season. um but yeah, it doesn't look promising for you. I don't think this franchise is
First
serious about.
apron is $8 million. Second apron, $19 million. I wonder if that's still taking into account Clint Capella's contract because he's an unrestricted free agent this offseason, and he's making 22 million. Right, like that's you can't continue. He can't bill us for that because he'll be an unrestricted free agent.
No, he won't bill us, but as far as what we can actually spend on, like I said, it has something to do with the difference between signing outside free agents and signing your your own free agents.
Hmm.
But I don't think this franchise is serious about winning, just to put it bluntly. Um if they were, I don't think we would see just like these salary dumps after salary dumps, the uh lack of willingness to dip into the luxury cap in order to build a team around Trey. A lot of serious rumors about Trey was almost sent to San Antonio. The final deal was for
Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox, but that was very close to being Trey.
Hmm. I mean, he obviously works very well next to a Wimby, right? But what I've heard is that he may walk after this season if he doesn't like the direction of where they're going.
Yeah,
But I hadn't heard that he was on the block this year.
yeah. I mean, I'm glad he didn't get moved. This team, even given all those things that we just mentioned, they've won 3 out of their last 5, right? Even before the trade deadline and that big skid that we talked about, they're still in a play-in zone. Only a couple games out of, you know, having one of the top 5, 6 seeds. Um,
Hmm.
so like all is not lost, but it is kind of alarming to me that they basically just sold the farm. We don't really have much in the way of draft capital, and in the just like we talked about the NFL, like at some point you got to have some bona fide superstars, some proven talent, some veteran presence. You can't just keep throwing out 18, 19, 20 year olds and expect um, to get a winning result.
Hmm.
I mean, this team is already one of the youngest teams in the NBA. We don't need to get any younger.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the money, right? Bogey's been a trade candidate for the last couple of years. They finally got him off, so that felt like that was predetermined, right? Less a cap move, or maybe that was 40% of it was cap, but I think they've been wanting to move Bogey. I've wanted to move DeAndre Hunter for the last 2 years. I think he's played well enough this year that he finally has some value, but they didn't get nearly enough for him, considering some of the other trades that went down, right? Like Brandon Ingram is a lot better than DeAndre Hunter, but they're not that far apart, especially with availability.
Yeah, I do think, you know, it's kind of ironic. It's kind of fits the whole Atlanta MO, but we've been asking for DeAndre to step up and be a factor, and he finally is, and we let him loose. But I get it, right? Like you sell high or as high as you can.
Yeah,
There's no guarantee that he's going to turn around next year and repeat the success he's had this season. Um, he was an expensive sixth man.
yeah, he was. Yeah, he had a fat check. So you did that. That's the same thing, right? Maybe 60-40. Maybe his was for the organization. Maybe his was more than money, considering what they got back for
Yeah.
him. I thought Bones Highland would have been a good backup point guard. He didn't get a whole lot of run with the Clippers, but that was because James Harden came in and took over that role. But he's solid. I liked his game. Terrence Mann is, okay.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by the move to just release Bones Highland, to be honest. But
Yeah,
um,
it's it's discouraging, man. There's no other way to really put it. Trey Young is good enough to will us into the play-in. That's just how good he is. He can do it. He can put us on his shoulders and get us there. But that's not great, man. It's not a great experience for him. It's not a great experience for us as the fans. And there's nothing that they can do now. Right, trade deadline is come and gone. They were active, but they were active in kind of the wrong way. They did beat the Magic tonight. Won 112-106. And the Magic they're no slouches. They haven't had Paolo for a while, but he's back. I don't know if he played tonight.
yeah. Um, I'm pretty sure Paolo. No, I don't know if he played. I was gonna say their leading scorer. The leading scorer of the game was Franz
Wagner.
from Wagner.
He's a beast too, though.
Yeah, but we got the W, and I mean, who knows? Maybe this cast of characters can just you know take us to places we haven't been in a couple years. I mean,
Yeah.
I doubt it. Like I said, I don't think the organization as a whole is really serious about winning. Not, I mean, how could you feel any otherwise? Based off the decisions that they've made over the last couple years, this year included. Um, it is just discouraging. Um, but you know, at the end of the day, the record, the wins and losses will be the ultimate, you know, report card, right?
Yeah, no, I will. They did both play. Paolo dropped 31. um, so the Hawks score 112 points. Trey Young scored 19 of those. It's a weird looking at the stat line and the people that played. I mean, we got 38 points from our newly acquired players, 12 from Terrence Mann, 18 from Karis LeVert, and 8 from George Niang. They started Muhammad Gouye. I didn't even know he was getting any minutes. That's the other thing, man. I'm back to being less of a fan of Quinn's rotations. I think Garrison Matthews, he didn't play tonight, but and Vic Krejci, they should not be getting time.
Who are you gonna
Right?
play in their stead?
I mean, I put Keaton Wallace in there. Plowden, he had that super game with the Bulls, right? Like,
Yeah,
or maybe play Zachary Ricochet more than 17 minutes, right?
yeah.
There's no reason that Vic Krejci should play more minutes than the first overall pick in the NBA draft, and he did. Everyone did, basically.
Yeah, he's coming off of an injury though, right? So maybe some of that is limitations just trying to keep him healthy.
So it's not a back to back. He played 23 minutes tonight. The game before that, played 20 minutes in the back to back. 23, 25, 29, 25. 17 today is crazy. I don't know what that will be about.
Hey,
I'm
we
just bitter, man. I don't know. I do want him to get a lot more run, but
I mean, just take one from Jameson and just eat the dub.
eat the dub.
Just eat the dub and be satisfied.
So there's like 11 ostriches running at you, and you're looking up, and you got a piece of corn on your chin. And then Bert, he didn't know what to say. He's hilarious too. Have you familiar with him? The guy you're talking to,
Yeah, yeah.
Bert Kirshner. Yeah, he's like, and then they disembowel you. So I'm pretty sure you should look it up.
He was probably, this is way off track, but he was probably the most entertaining thing about the entire Super Bowl week. Just watching Jameis ask interview questions and just be himself in New Orleans.
Jalen, Jalen was like, "Oh man, he threw me a cookie." He was so taken aback by it.
Yeah,
Throwing cookies. Like, what's your favorite color?
he would start like all serious. Everyone wants to know you're a 5-time All-Star, Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowl, you know, MVP. This is your 14th year in the league. Everyone has to know. What's your favorite color? Yeah, he's fun. I enjoyed all the little sound bites and nuggets that he provided. But either way, I know you're bitter. I know I'm a little bitter myself. I'm frustrated. I think is the better term with the way the Hawks organization has moved. But maybe Landry knows better. Got to give him a little bit of credit. He did manage to flip DJ into the Dyson Daniels,
Yeah.
and he's been an absolute stud. Still leads the league in steals. So maybe he does know a thing or two about basketball. I mean, he did play professionally. So I don't know. For now, I'm gonna reserve total judgment and try and give him the benefit of the doubt on the trade deadline. And there was good news that came out today. Your boy, your favorite player, the guy that we have now coined. You're no longer snubbed from the All-Star game. You're trade from the
That's right.
All-Star game.
Yeah.
Well, he is going to be representing the A in the game. He's a reserve fill-in for Giannis. So I mean, something positive. How you feeling about that?
If I'm Trey, uh, I don't I don't like having petty parties, but
You can't say no if you
just
ever want to get in legitimately.
if you ever want to get in, you cannot say no. But I'm like, all right, man. If y'all keep doing this, I'm just gonna say no. I'm good. Nah, don't worry about me. Put somebody else in, right? Because I mean, it is disrespectful. You're leading the league in assists. You're not that far behind as far as records concerned from like a Detroit that put Cade Cunningham in. Who's the other one? Miami.
Um,
I
Hero
can't.
Tyler Hero.
Yeah, Tyler Hero. Right, neither one of those guys should have made it above Trey Young. For him to have to get in by injury for the second year in a row, it's crazy. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what the coach's deal is with Trey because that the reserves are a coach decision.
Yeah, I'm well. I don't know, man. The whole situation is busted. You know, we talked about it last week. You know, Trey deserves to be a true all-star. He shouldn't be getting in this way, but I think as a professional, you just kind of have to go and show out. Like if he goes and he plays and he balls out, then maybe the narrative shifts next year. Hopefully he's still in a Hawks uniform next year. Um,
Yeah,
I hate to say it,
yeah, I
but
hope so too.
he probably has a better shot of getting in the All Star game without this reserve nonsense if he's not a Hawk. But before before we close it out, because I do think we need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
But something that I saw that was or heard that's interesting is what is the roster size? Is it 12 for the All Star game?
I think it's eight, four teams of eight.
Well, the the discussion was when they originally created the All Star game and the size of the teams, the size of your actual NBA team roster wise was less than it is today. So, that being
Mm.
said, you have more guys competing for less spots for the All Star team. So, they really do need to evaluate expanding the All Star roster size to be at least equal to that of your regular season teams. And with that, it may open the door for a guy like Trey to make the team more easily, right?
Yeah, yeah. He should make it in this format or a new format. But I hear what you're saying.
I agree 150%, but it is something worth, I think, considering if you're the NBA because it doesn't seem like it doesn't add up, right? The math isn't mathing. You
It's
had,
not.
in terms of the roster spots versus the total pool of players, you had more spots for less players 20, 30 years ago. You actually have more teams and more players per team now, and the number of roster spots in the All Star game is the same.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense. It's not equitable, and you got people out here getting trade left and right.
Yeah, because I think Lamelo should have made it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, now you can say that their record is bad. Like Charlotte's a
I
tough
don't care
watch,
what
but
your team's record is. If you
yeah,
are
if
balling,
you're
you're
putting up the
balling.
numbers, yeah,
If you're a bona fide superstar, you're an all star, right? If you're performing on the court, you're an all star. You know,
and you know what? I think the media has too much power, right? why should it not be? Obviously, you can't rely on the popular vote 100% because I think at one point they're trying to put the white mamba. He had enough votes to get Brian Scalabrine. I think he had enough votes to get into the starting lineup
Yeah.
when he was in Boston. But the media hates Trey. Most of basketball media is New York, um, and they hate Trey there.
Yeah.
So they get a strong say. And I don't know what the coach's problem is, but the media was one of the reasons because he got love from the other players this year. I was looking for the breakdown to see if I could give you exact numbers, but I can't find it like I did before.
Yeah.
But it's he's finally getting the respect from his peers, which I'm sure feels good. But the coaches and the media, it makes sense why the media is the way they are. They're just can be taking a bow on their home court. They haven't won anything in a very long time, so I'm sure it feels extra hurt.
They should take it back like Pee Wee League style and have a representative from each team.
There you go. Send us your best player.
you
Try to go 100% of the time, man.
might have 7 point guards and not be able to fill a true lineup. But yeah, man. Either way, congratulations to Trey, and I hope he goes and shows out at the All-Star game. I definitely am with you. I would feel some kind of way, and it'd take a lot of internal a willpower to not just stick it to the league and tell them they can take
Man, it
their.
would take a lot, dog. It would take a lot.
But anyway, man, it's been a good discussion. I mean, a lot has been going on, even in the I don't know, the off season, I guess, of the biggest sports in our town. The Hawks are doing their thing. Hopefully, the end of the season finishes strong. Um, the Braves have already started reporting to spring training, and United kicks off in 12 days, and they should be an exciting, very exciting team to see this year. Bringing home Miggy, making the Lottie Loft deal official, making it a record transfer fee signing, uh, bigger than Messi and some other names, which is kind of wild to think about in terms of how much they went out and paid. But they're going for it. Unlike it feels like with the Hawks, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they are going for it. So they kick
Well,
off
the
and
Braves, dog. But we won't get into it. We don't have time.
yeah. But yeah, they kick off in 12 days. So mark your calendars and check them out. Might be hard. You might have to pay for the MLS package on Apple TV, but maybe not. Maybe we'll get one for free, just to get us interested. But, anyways, appreciate everyone. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Remember, you can catch our newest episode Fridays at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we will go. The videos will go live on YouTube, so be on the lookout. We appreciate your support, and peace out.
Catch you on the flip, man.